Luang Por Anan of Wat Marp Jan tentatively has confirmed that he will be visiting Dhammagiri from the 1st to the 3rd of May. Was it? Yeah, no, that is, unfortunately, the 3rd is a Saturday, the 2nd is a Friday, so I'm still not 100% sure whether we will do the Stupa Consecration and Relic Enshrinement ceremony for which he is coming, whether we do that on Friday the 2nd or Saturday the 3rd. But as he is leaving on Saturday the 3rd and maybe going back to Thailand via Sydney, and maybe a little bit too tight, so it's more likely that we have the main event on Friday the 2nd of May. May, still some time. You're checking the clock already, okay. And I'm very happy that Luang Por has agreed coming for that. There will be lots of preparations still required. I'm very happy that Ajahn Kantiko, a tall German monk who has stayed with us before, has volunteered to come and help. He will be here on the 27th of February and then stay till the ceremony happens. We may have another event occurring earlier on the first weekend in March with Luang Por Piak, but that is not yet confirmed and will depend also a bit on his health and strength. He has some major health problems. But that would be just a small ceremony for installing a few plaques. Currently, I'm working hard to get a kind of foundation stone plaque manufactured. We already have the concrete slab and the plinth to place the stupa on, installed on top of the hill, on the summit. And the idea is not to have a really good granite, long-lasting foundation stone explaining what this is all about, and to install that before the actual stupa arrives, and then the stupa will be put over that plinth, covering the foundation stone. So even if the stupa has crumbled in 1,000 years, if anyone is digging there, they can still remove the rubble, and then hopefully that granite slab will still be there and still be readable. Luang Por Liam and Ajahn Dan both recommended to have such a kind of stone for archaeological reasons in the future. It is the Saddhamma Cetiya. The Saddhamma means the true Dhamma, the real Dhamma. Dinky Dai, true blue Dhamma of the Buddha, unadulterated, not misunderstood or misexpressed, complete, with nothing extra or added, with nothing taken away, just the way the Buddha taught it. And it also refers to the Dhamma which we can experience in our heart, the Dhamma the Buddha himself experienced at the night of enlightenment, the Dhamma that every Arahant experienced, which is beyond words, which cannot be explained in language, but which can only be experienced as a state of complete freedom, peace and liberation in one's own heart. That is also the Saddhamma. Saddhamma Savanam, exactly. There are 4 factors for stream entry. The first is Sappodhisa Sangseva. That means associating with good persons, good persons here means basically those who have seen the Dhamma, the people who have attained any of the stages of enlightenment. And if you associate with these people, then it's quite natural that you hear the Saddhamma. If you associate with fools, then we will have foolish things. If you associate with people who only have book learning and limited realization, they may have got it wrong. And what you hear from them may not be the Saddhamma. It may be close or similar, but not quite the real thing. Whereas if someone is at least a stream enterer, then you have a kind of guarantee that what they teach about the Dhamma cannot be fundamentally wrong anymore, because their fundamental understanding is correct and confirmed by their own realization. I really like this story after the Buddha had attained Sammasambodhi. At some stage, and he contemplated and he thought, someone who has nothing to look up to and to revere and respect, that person dwells in suffering. I find that reflection already quite insightful and really important. Many people nowadays think, if I'm the top dog and everyone is below me, this would be perfect. And everyone is worshipping me, that would be the greatest. But that's not how a wise person thinks. And the Supreme Being in the universe, the Buddha, was actually thinking, is a state of suffering if one doesn't have anything to admire and to be inspired by and look up to. And I feel one can notice that in our society, which is largely non-religious anymore. And so many people may not believe in God nor any religion, so they don't have that to look up to. And one can notice that they are quite desperate to find something. And if they are no longer religious, they still have posters from movie stars or sports stars or celebrities. Because there seems to be a deep need in human beings that they want something to admire, respect, and worship. And the Buddha acknowledged that, and then he investigated, but he couldn't find a single being in the universe which would be his superior in terms of liberation, in terms of wisdom, in terms of insight and knowledge, in terms of virtue, in terms of samadhi, in terms of psychic power. The only thing maybe in other Buddhas who would be equal, but not finding any being that is superior and that would be suitable for him to worship. He decided that he will honor, revere, and esteem the Saddhamma, which he discovered and experienced under the Bodhi tree. So it's good enough for the Buddha, should be good enough for us, isn't it? If even the Buddha worshipped the Dhamma, we should do so. This is why I felt it's beautiful to dedicate a stupa to the Saddhamma and to the long lasting of the true Dhamma. Because if you only have a fake Dhamma, and all you have left is some distorted, misleading Dhamma, it will be extremely difficult to extricate ourselves from suffering. Only as long as the true Dhamma is still available somewhere, and the true patipada, the real practice. It's not just about the theoretical teachings. It's also about the vinaya and the patipada, the practice. To maintain that, to have monasteries where the vinaya is kept and where the monks are practicing. It's all part of it. little translation that is in Brahma Samyutta, is also in Anguttara Nikaya. And after the Buddha makes this decision that he from now on will live honoring, revering and esteeming the Dhamma he has discovered, Brahma Sahampati, reading the Buddha's mind, immediately appears. Do you know Brahma Sahampati? What's important about him, special? Exactly. We owe him a huge debt of gratitude. He's supposed to be a non-returner, so he hadn't attained Parinibbana yet, but he lived in the pure abodes where the lifespan is very long. From a previous Buddha he had practiced. And when the Buddha contemplated, should I teach or not, after enlightenment, and his mind inclined to remaining quiet and just enjoying the bliss of freedom and release, Brahma Sahampati saw that inclination and appeared in front of the Buddha and invited him. You can again see the very different attitude of a truly enlightened person, a truly awakened Buddha, compared to more worldly people. You probably think, oh yeah, if I become a stream enterer, I have to immediately share that on my Insta. No? I have to let them all know. No, I really cracked it. And this is not how you feel if you really attain release. No, there's no urge anymore to run around and converting people. People who have a need to convert others, they're not at ease. They're not at peace. They're needy. They need that confirmation. They need that endorsement, so to speak, by getting disciples. The Buddha doesn't need anything. He's completely at ease. And then only based on pure compassion is the only motivation why he did that. But not in a mad rush to let everyone know now. And even then with this nudging, with the official invitation. So this is a being that we should have the greatest gratitude for. If he hadn't done that, the Buddha, maybe not sure what would have happened. Hopefully someone else would have invited. Even so, we have a huge debt of gratitude to him. And here, when the Buddha contemplated, the Brahma saw that again. This is one of the traditional derivations of Arahant. The Arahant is one of the epithets of the Buddha and every Arahant. And the commentaries derive that as Araho. A is just a negation, and Araha means concealed, hidden. Someone who operates by hiding things, by operating undercover. But it's denied, it's the opposite. So the Buddha is completely open. And when he is not in deep meditation, if he is not thinking, then other beings, particular spirits and those who have mind-reading abilities, they can read his thoughts. But it's no problem because the Buddha has only good and wholesome thoughts. So this Brahma saw the thought of the Buddha and then he immediately appeared and confirmed that this is what all Buddhas are doing. Revering the Dhamma, that they also have something to look up to. And interestingly, the Buddha says, after the Sangha has become great, with many Arahants, many monks and nuns, then he also respects the Sangha. And my idea was to put these verses of Brahma Sahampati on 4 plaques on the 4 sides of the stupa. We will have 4 little Buddha statues installed in the little niches on top there. Because the stupa is modeled according to the and a big Mahabodhi temple in Bodh Gaya. One of the side spires, but smaller and simpler, but the basic style. And that is in the Indian Gupta period, and they would have so many niches, and originally they all had Buddha rupas. Nowadays in Bodh Gaya, they are gradually starting to fill them up again, but most of the niches are empty. So we will put 4 Buddha statues in the topmost niche in the stupa, in 4 different mudras. Now the first one, when you arrive, coming up and walking towards the stupa, the one facing east, that will be the Abhaya mudra, and the Buddha raises the right hand with a gesture of imparting fearlessness. The next one, if one circumambulates, that would be the one facing south, that will be the Bhumi Pasana mudra, also known as a Mara Jinna mudra in Thailand, where it's actually, strictly speaking, still the Bodhisattva, where he touches the earth in the battle with Mara. And Mara tries to move him from his seat under the Bodhi tree by assaulting him with his whole army. And in this metaphorical story, they say that the Buddha touched with his hand the earth to call the earth as witness for his parami. Ajahn Amaro has also a nice interpretation. He shows this calling the earth, and that also means that this is substantial. It's not just mind gymnastics, it's not just thinking, but this enlightenment is real. That the earth, the most substantial and heavy element, calls witness that this is real. And then the one facing west, that will be the Varada mudra, where the Buddha is extending the hand outside, that is giving blessings. That will be towards the kuti where I'm staying, because I need lots of blessings. Anyway, when you circumambulate. And the last one will then be the Samadhi mudra. I'm quite happy with the outcome. These little statues, to fit these niche, they're only 11 centimeters high. So they're quite tiny. But the artist did a very good job to do them in Indian Gupta style, which for me is the most beautiful. And it's very difficult to get anyone doing Indian Gupta style with a satisfactory execution. And then I want to put these plaques underneath with a statement of Brahma Sahampati, which I can give you the translation. If you can bear some poetry. It's only 16 lines. This is what the Brahma said. All Buddhas of the distant past and all the Buddhas yet to come, the Buddha of our present time who freed so many from all grief, they live, will live, have always lived revering the authentic truth, the Dhamma that they realized. This is the nature of enlightened ones. And thus, for your own happiness, for your own lasting benefit, revere the Dhamma, the authentic truth, remembering what the Buddha taught. Those who respect the Dhamma and who live devoted to that truth will flourish in the teaching that the All-Awakened One has taught. Because even that encouragement doesn't induce them to have respect to the Dhamma, then I don't know what to do else. If the Buddha worships it, if Brahma Sahampati says it, he definitely should revere the Saddhamma. I also like the idea of dedicating a stupa to the Saddhamma, because many people have a very limited idea of Saddha, of faith. And they often know faith mostly as a kind of personal devotion to a person. So there's a strong affection for someone you personally know. And then there's this personal devotion. In Pali, that is actually often called pema. The pema means affection, and it can be also regarded as a source of all suffering, because it's similar to craving. So sometimes the Buddha would say that affection is the cause of suffering. Because what we love never bring us suffering when we lose it, when we get separated. However, if we have affection to the Buddha, to the Supreme Being in the universe, then obviously that is wholesome and good. And that is the one aspect of faith, this affective quality, this emotional devotion to a being. And usually it works best if a human being is still alive. You can see that so many of these great teachers, after they have passed away, those who knew them personally, it often continues with their faith, but there's not that many newcomers, because this kind of faith usually requires a living person. We like to personalize things. You see that even with countries. Australia Day today, and it's often easier to have devotion for a country, and if you have a king or a queen, this is why you do that. They symbolize the country, because we find it quite easy to focus attention on a human being. However, it is more difficult to have faith into an abstract principle. Now, for example, sabbe sankhara anatta, all conditioned phenomena are not self. This is a tough one to have an effective devotion to, isn't it? The statement that all conditioned phenomena are not self will not easily trigger this kind of devotional faith, isn't it? But this is what we should have faith in. The faith the Buddha talks about, Saddha, which you can also translate as confidence or conviction, is not only to the Buddha personally or to outstanding monks personally, but it is also to the abstract Dhamma principles. Exactly, on Polgastur. It says on that one, exactly. All conditioned phenomena are impermanent. Now, these are things you can have actually faith in. You can have conviction and confidence in. Because the faculty of Saddha, of faith, can be the main driving force for our practice. Now, we have that among those who are practicing to attain stream entry. You have got the Saddha-nusavi and the Dhamma-nusavi, the faith follower and the Dhamma follower. And the Saddha-nusavi works mostly by confidence and conviction and faith, whereas the Dhamma follower works mostly by panya, by wisdom, understanding. But both of them have both faculties. It's just a question which one is predominant. And even more amazing, once you have stream enterers, and even higher once returners, and non-returners, even for them, for some, the dominant faculties up to the attainment of full nibbana, arahant, is actually Saddha. It's no longer for an arahant, because an arahant has a full knowledge then jnana. It's no longer faith. But even for an anagami, for some which the Buddha classed as Saddha vimutta, liberated by faith, they may still have in their practice faith, confidence as a dominant faculty. So we shouldn't, we shouldn't underuse, we should fully utilize the faculty of confidence to deepen our Dhamma understanding. Because often our wisdom is not good enough, it's not strong enough. You can see that when you take that statement, all phenomena are not safe, and you try to understand that with wisdom, you may get into doubts. Does it mean there's no safe? Or in how far is consciousness not safe? Not me, not mine, not I. It's not necessarily easy to see with wisdom that the body is not you, that you don't own the body, that you don't own your thoughts, that the thoughts are not you, and so on. Because if we could see that, we would be liberated anyhow, and thoughts wouldn't disturb our meditation. So we can't quite see it. And what I strongly recommend, if you cannot see it yet with wisdom, just take it on board and contemplate it based on conviction, because the Buddha was saying that. Also on a very simple level. Now, for example, you try to keep the 5 precepts. Now it's Australia Day and you go out with the mates and the girls and then they offer you a drink and it's very difficult and seems impolite to refuse. And your wisdom, in inverted commas, because it's not true wisdom, it's distorted wisdom, distorted by delusion. Your kind of intelligence may be telling you, on this day, just having a little drink, that is actually okay. This is what your faculty may be telling you. This is good to fall back on faith now. Even if your thinking tends to think, just one drink on a special day, no problem, but instead to fall back on faith. And the Buddha said, we abstain from taking alcohol and intoxicants. And then you do it out of faith, even if you can't understand it yet. Or the same with anger arising. I mean, there's anger where we usually all notice it's not good, not helpful. But there's also righteous indignation. Do you know that feeling of righteous indignation? If someone does something that is really as objectively as you can say wrong, according to all standards of decency, according to Dhamma standards, according to standards of polite society, maybe even illegal what they're doing. Everyone agrees with you that what they're doing is really, really bad and harmful. And then you get this righteous indignation. And then it feels like you should be angry about that. And there's this voice telling you, this is correct, you should be angry about that because it's so bad and wrong. Have you ever had that? And can your wisdom clearly see that even in that situation, the anger is actually wrong? Maybe not, ne?
Sometimes.
Exactly. Now, this is a limitation. The wisdom faculty may not be strong enough. Again, then we can fall back on Saddha, and we remember the teaching of the Buddha. Even if terrorists were to saw off your arms and legs with an iron saw, if you got angry, you're not really practicing the Buddha's teaching. Now, why is this simile so extreme? I don't think the Buddha meant to address it to people in that situation. Unfortunately, it's quite rare. And who will be able to practice it in that situation is obviously would have to be a very exceptional person. My understanding is the Buddha made the simile so extreme deliberately to close that excuse of righteous indignation. Because our intelligence, in inverted commas, our distorted, deluded intelligence will convince us that anger in certain situations is good, because these people have to be punished. This is what happens. Yeah?
So what about as an act of discipline? Say for a Zen master.
Yeah, if you want to really do an act of discipline, you have to do it after the anger is gone and based on compassion. But not while the anger is there. First the anger has to go. And this simile is, in my opinion, directly designed to close any excuse that in a certain situation the anger is justified. Because if the anger is not even justified when they're sawing off your arms and legs, then obviously you can't really find any situation where it could possibly be justified. But we may not see that yet. If someone is really, really giving you a very hard time and really harming you and your loved ones, we may not see that anger is bad now. But then we fall back on Saddha. Because Saddha doesn't only mean that you have devotion to the Buddha or to some outstanding teacher and that you bow with tears in your eyes and you have these strong emotions. But you can develop Saddha also to abstract Dhamma principles, like anger is unwholesome. Or the fifth precept, or any of the 5 precepts, you have faith in that. This is not a personal devotional faith, but it's very, very powerful, and it will help you to keep precepts. It will help you to abandon anger. And it will really help you with the deeper aspects of Dhamma. Netang mama nesuhamasmi na me suatati. This is not me. This is not mine. I am not this. This is not myself. And now you have some excruciating pain in your back, on your head. I had quite a painful stomach last Monday. I think we all know that, no? You have some really strong pain. Can you see that with wisdom, that it's not your pain? That you don't own that pain? Can you really see that with wisdom? If you could, you would be liberated, of course. You would have the Nibbana. So it's good to acknowledge our wisdom isn't so strong yet. The faculty isn't strong enough yet. And then when you're lying there with the flu and all these aches and whatever you have, and can't really cope, and you can't see with wisdom, this isn't me, the pain isn't mine, the pain is impermanent, you can't see it. We can fall back on Saddha. And we contemplate the pain as not me, not mine, based on trust and conviction that the Buddha actually said that. And even if I can't fully figure it out, how is that possible? I do contemplate, it's not my pain, I don't own that. And even if you don't really understand it yet with wisdom, but you have a very strong conviction in it, that can be enough to let go. That can be enough that the letting go occurs. This is the Saddha Nusavi, that is a Saddha Vimutta kind of Seka. That's a faith follower, the faith liberated, and a person on the lower stages of enlightenment. They work with that. They don't see it really sharp. They also have the wisdom faculty. To some extent they see it, but not really enough. But their conviction is so strong that the letting go occurs. Because this is what it's about. All these teachings, the craving is a source of suffering. It's not so much to try to establish an absolute doctrinal truth. It's about that you use it in order to let go of craving. And if you let go of craving, you let go of suffering. Suffering is gone. The pain is not me, not mine. It's not so much a doctrine to argue about, but if you contemplate like that, you may be able to let go of the pain. And then you're at ease, even if there is pain. I know definitely that he took meditation, because when he was elderly and in bed, he would try to be a good monk. A good monk has been instructed by the Buddha that you should take the medication which compassionate companion in the holy life and supporters give you if it's beneficial. So he did take medicine. But while he was practicing, he may have preferred to stay in the forest and continue his meditation practice, rather than trying to get to Colombo to find a good doctor and get the supporters. Now, this is what good practitioners sometimes do. It's not like they're holding on to a strong view, I never take medicine. It's about that sometimes you wouldn't want to disrupt your meditation practice by going through possibly in the huge distractions and efforts of finding the doctor, and it may be difficult if you're in the forest and you feel it's more important to continue pushing ahead with your meditation. But this is the idea of the Saddhamma Cetiya, to encourage you all to widen your understanding of faith. Faith, Saddha, is not only in the devotion, but it's also conviction, confidence in the abstract teachings of the Buddha. The 12 links of dependent origination. Avijja paccaya sankhara, sankhara paccaya vijnanam, vijnana. You know that one. Is that all totally clear to you, to your wisdom faculty and your intellect, how exactly that works? That this is something you can have faith and conviction in. It's not yet clear, but this is definitely the teaching of the Buddha. This is right at the heart of the teaching of the Buddha. So you take it on conviction and contemplate it, even if you can't fully see it yet. And if the conviction is strong, and there's additionally some wisdom also operating, this both together may be enough for the letting go to occur. It may even be enough for the stages of enlightenment to occur, particularly the lower ones. So it's so important that faith is not just personal devotion. Faith is also conviction in Four Noble Truths. Conviction in dependent origination. Conviction in impermanence of all formations, not safe nature of all formations, and so on. Because then your faith faculty can really lead to realization of the Dhamma. And even below that level, it can help you to keep the precepts, even if there's some nagging voice who is masquerading as smartness, is telling you the opposite. It can help you to abandon stinginess. Maybe you want to be really generous. I mean, sometimes it can be tiny things, just you have some nice chocolate treat and you have some guests over. And which one do you pass on? The nicest one to the others? And whatever is left to you? Or the other way around? A few nice mangoes, you give the nice ones away, and then you have got the slightly pressed and brown one, or the nice one for me. And often there's this voice masquerading as smartness, telling us, no, you better get that for yourself. What else do you get? You deserve that. And that overcomes that voice of generosity. And then you remember the teaching of the Buddha, where he said, and if someone could see the results of giving as clearly as the Buddha sees it, that person wouldn't eat a single meal without sharing. That person would share even their last morsel of food. And then one does it, one is generous and out of faith. Jealousy, conceit, arrogance, and abandoning defilements. Even if some apparently smart voice is telling us in the background, we fall back on faith in the teaching of the Buddha and we abandon conceit and arrogance and stubbornness. No, I won't do that. I'm resolved. I've decided that. No. Stubbornness. This is what the Buddha would stubbornness. And it's sometimes very difficult to let go of stubbornness. But if we have faith, and then we remember, stubbornness can be a defilement. I feel I should be holding on. My voice is telling me, no, hold on. But then out of conviction in the Buddha teaching that one has to let go of stubbornness, and we let go.